everybody, how are you doing? Welcome to the Library of a Silver Saint, where we talk all things books. Happy Friday. Actually, I don't know why I'm saying that. It's Friday now, but this will not be going up on Friday. Happy weekend. Happy bank holiday weekend. Also, happy May. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. This year is going so quickly. April, I feel, just went past in like a blink of an eye. Also, it may have gone so quickly because I've had such a good reading month, and that is what today's video is all about. Today, I wanted to share with you my April wrap up and just go through as briefly as I can all of the books that I read in the month of April. Guys, first thing, well, this is a first for Library of a Silver Saint, but I actually don't have a cup of tea with me this morning. I sat down and then realised I hadn't boiled the kettle, and then I thought, well, it's a bit late now, so I've just got a glass of water. But you know what? I can still sip, and it's good for hydration, so please make sure that you have got yourself a drink, get yourself a beverage, get yourself a snack, whether it's breakfast, lunch, a biscuit, whatever it is. Get yourself comfortable. Let's go through all of the books that I read in April. I had such a good reading month. I am going to try so hard. I'm just going to call my dog through as well, actually. Ernie, come and sit in here, please. I just want Ernie to come and sit in here because I'm keeping an eye on him because he's not been very well. Sit down. Good boy, you stay there. I'm going to try and keep this as brief as possible, as much as I can. I read 9 books in the month of April. Very well, I don't know, I'm quite impressed with myself actually. I did quite a few Audible reads, and actually a couple of them were quite short. So, you know, not cheating as such, but they were quite short. And I also read a short story. So yeah, I'm just going to talk to you about all of those. I'll start with a buddy read. So, guys, I went back to the Banished Lands and I was so happy. The first book I read, or actually, I should stress that none of these are in any particular order. I'm just going to go through them. One of the books that I read in April was A Time of Dread, which is book 1 in the Of Blood and Bone saga by John Gwynne. I buddy read words. Compose myself. Calm down, Ashley. I buddy read this with my friend Justine, Stormborn Archive on Instagram. Oh my gosh, I was so excited to get back to this world. I'm really sorry, Justine, I couldn't keep up with you. I was quite slow on the buddy read. I do apologise. I actually spent quite a lot of time underlining. I don't know if you can see, but I was underlining little sections as I was going through. This is a sequel series, a kind of follow-up series to the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne, and it still takes place in the same world, so in the Banished Lands, with new characters. Some old characters make a reappearance, are returning. There are quite a lot of links to the Faithful and the Fallen. Beautiful, perfect, loved it, absolutely amazing. This was incredible. This was so good. It's dark, it's gritty, but John's writing is so, his how he is able to write characters and found family and those relationships. Oh, it's just so beautiful. I don't know how he does it. He makes my heart just feel like it's going to burst. I love the introduction of the new characters. The new characters are all so different. It's multi-POV. They're all so distinct. They each have such an incredible story to themselves. They all have their own backstory, their own emotions, their own... One of them has quite strong emotions, which is really a huge part of her story in this. I'm sorry, I'm not being very coherent with this. This was really good. This was amazing. It exceeded my expectations. I just thought it was beautiful. John's writing, honestly, I underlined so much. Even just his descriptions of how characters look. The thick warrior braid that she had neatly bound and coiled about her shoulder like a sleeping serpent. This was amazing. John, I've not forgiven you. I didn't forgive you for the Faithful and the Fallen, and I haven't forgiven you for this one. I cried at the end. I cried. Oh my gosh. You've got politics in here, found family, animal companions. You've got new things are happening. It's taking some of the elements of the Faithful and the Fallen series and kind of flipping them a little bit. So what initially seemed very black and white is now a little bit of a murky grey. And I really, really liked that. And at the end, there was just an incredible gut punch. I cried. I'm not over it. This was incredible, and I cannot wait to get to book 2. After I finished A Time of Dread, my friend Immy was telling me, Abby, Books and Three Cats, and Abby's Book World in the group chat to read one of John's short stories from an anthology called I think it's Art of War. So sorry, I've forgotten the name of the short story, so I will pop the name of it on the screen. I think it's something like The Final Battle. Oh, I can't remember. It's just a very short story that is actually set before a time of dread, but after the events of The Faithful and the Fallen. We get to revisit some of the characters from The Faithful and the Fallen, and by the end of the first page, I was gone. I was in tears. It was so good. It hit me so hard. I think it packed such a punch, obviously, from reading The Faithful and the Fallen. You can't really read it without having read The Faithful and the Fallen, in my opinion. It's imperative to have read The Faithful and the Fallen for it to hit, but just getting to revisit those same characters again and meet them again was just beautiful. It packed such a punch for such a short story. It was beautiful. I loved it. The next book was actually a reread, and that is the Illuminae Files, Book 1 by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I actually only read this last year. I read it in like October, November last year, so not very long ago at all, but I absolutely loved it. I've been reading quite a few books at the same time at the moment, and so I wanted my audio to be something that was quite easy to follow, familiar, comforty, and that was this for me. YA sci-fi series set in the future where you've got humans living in space. Humans are terraforming on a planet, and there is a planet that is being illegally terraformed for a substance. Maybe substance isn't the right word. For a resource. A company finds out about this and they attack, and the people flee, and they are then being pursued by the company that attacked. So there's this huge conspiracy going on, huge amount of political intrigue, and you've got two characters. Main characters are teenagers, but they are separated on different ships. They are communicating from ship to ship. I love how this is written. So it's written in video logs, instant messages, emails, files that have had some bits deleted and things like that. It was amazing. I love the audiobook. It's got a full cast. Each character has a different voice. Amazing, so good, and it has one of my favourite characters of all time, which is Aiden, an artificial intelligence character. Completely screwed up, but my goodness, is he compelling. I love his character, and I love this series, and I'm actually currently about to finish book 2, Gemina, which I'm also really enjoying. But this was exactly what I needed, something quick, easy to follow, and just a comfort reread. So I read Illuminae. Another book that I read in the month of April was The Will of the Many by James Islington. Now, I feel like I've been sort of sharing my thoughts with this, and people are really unhappy with me. I feel like my thoughts and opinions on this are quite controversial. I was so hyped up for this book because this book is so hyped up. This book was on so many people's best book of 2023, best book of 2024, top 10, top 5, jaw was on the floor moments. I really did enjoy it. So this is set in a sort of Roman-inspired futuristic world where your kind of currency and your hierarchy is established by people passing on something called will, which is their sort of strength. It's also referred to as their like drive and their focus. That sort of internal energy is known as will, and it is ceded to people higher up. So the people that are highest in society cede from lots of people, and they cede from people, and they cede from people, and people at the bottom, are not ceding any. This had been so hyped, and I really enjoyed it. I loved the Roman-inspired world. I love the concept of will and how it is ceded to other people, and the concept of the hierarchy. The political intrigue in here and all of the navigation is very interesting. Really enjoyed it. And the ending was a surprise, a complete shock. And it has got me hooked for book 2. I definitely want to read book 2. I really enjoyed this, but this is a long book. And I felt, for me, the pacing was a bit off. I struggled. There were moments where it kind of really slowed down for me. I also really struggled with the characters. A lot of people have said that the main character in this, they really, really like. I really struggled. Viz is his name. And I struggled to find him in any way likable. There were a couple of side characters that I really liked, but I felt that they didn't get much page time. I'm hoping that they do get a bit more in book 2 because I really, really liked them. I just found that I wasn't quite as hooked as I hoped I would be. I don't feel like the will and the seeding of it was explored enough in this. And again, it might be something that for me is resolved in book 2. But the character connections, I felt quite a lack of care for the characters in this. But that's just me. It's just my opinion. I know that a lot of people disagree with me, and don't let my opinion put you off because I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed it. It just, for me, it didn't live up to the hype. Please don't take my word for that because I know that this is a huge favourite for so many people, but I do really want to read book 2. Next, I read 2 Suzanne Collins books. So I'm holding one that I read, which is Sunrise on the Reaping, but I also read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is the prequel, technically book 4 that was released, but the prequel which talks about the history of Coriolanus Snow and his past. I'll talk about that one first. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I had not read previously when it was released because it got so many mixed reviews and I was really unsure. Hunger Games trilogy is a huge trilogy for me, like it was a massively impactful part of my sort of teenage years. Really is what is so good about dystopian YA. It really set the standard. I think it was quite world-bending and genre-bending and mind-blowing for so many people. It's scarily relatable, and I think Suzanne really wrote that series with purpose. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is a really long novel in comparison. I also watched the film for this, and I do feel like there is quite a distinctive difference between the film and the book. In the book, Coriolanus Snow is very clearly a villain. You see his inner monologue. He's not a good person. I feel like the film tries to get you to empathise with him quite a lot. And for me, that's not the case. We shouldn't be empathising with him. I found it was, again, there was a few pacing issues. It was a much longer book. And the only thing I would say that I struggled with for Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is actually the relationship between Coriolanus Snow and the main female character, Lucy Gray, who is the tribute from District 12. I found their relationship very strange and difficult to understand. There were elements of it which I understood in terms of why Coriolanus needed Lucy, and at the beginning why Lucy needed Coriolanus. After the events of those Hunger Games and that competition, their relationship I really struggled with. I didn't understand it at all. I wasn't so sure about all of the choices for it. However, I did really enjoy it. I liked a lot. There was one particular side character that I really liked. And again, for me, Suzanne's writing is so much more about the messages and the themes that she explores. And there are a lot of themes explored in this, but it wasn't my favourite. Then I read Sunrise on the Reaping, which tells Haymitch's story. So this is set about 24 years, I think it's the 50th Hunger Games. So it's 24 years before the first Hunger Games where Katniss and Peter are in the games. I really, really enjoyed this. My friend Abby says it perfectly. Suzanne only writes when she feels like there is something to be said. And I completely agree with her on that. Abby, you're so right. This was very, very emotionally hard-hitting and impactful. It's not to say that it doesn't have its flaws. I did feel that this had its flaws. There were a couple of things that didn't work for me. However, I'm choosing to not really think about those so much because I don't think Suzanne, as I said previously, necessarily writes the reasons that we think to write them. She's writing them. She's writing these because she has something to say. There's a message, there's a deeper message in her books. And that was really profound in this. The biggest part of this book, the thing that I took away from this book was the media manipulation. The Capitol chose to manipulate and change the media to affect and impact what the general population of the districts see and how it's perceived. Blew my mind because that's very, very, very reminiscent and a mirror image of a lot of what happens today in certain societies and how media is controlled for us and what we see and how we perceive it. So I found that incredibly hard-hitting. This was incredibly emotional. Haymitch's story is completely tragic. It's completely tragic. You completely understand why he is the way he is in the Hunger Games trilogy. Incredibly emotional. And you really see in this just how awful Coriolanus Snow is. I think this is the book where actually I think his level of evil was truly explored, even more so than the other books for me. The only thing I would say that I struggled with about this book, which was a little bit of a flaw, nothing to do with actually the overall arching themes, There were just a couple of plot things that I didn't think worked necessarily well. I didn't feel that they were... I think that if they were a bit too far-fetched is probably not the right phrase to use. But they didn't seem plausible or logical in any sense. And it felt like they'd just sort of been put in there to move the story forward, to kind of get a bit of a plot in there. Again, I kind of disregard it because the overall theme and the overall message of this was very clear. The only other thing that I had that was a little bit sad about this was that I felt that there was one character in particular who I felt was a very strong character. And I feel like she didn't quite get the time. I guess that she just didn't get the time and enough representation. I felt like she deserved more representation in this. A bit of a stronger, more prevalent representation in this. But I really enjoyed this. This was an excellent addition to the series. It's not my favourite of the series. For me, books 1 and 2, Hunger Games and Catching Fire, are still my favourites, but this was incredible. Another book that I read was All Systems Red by Martha Wells. So this is book 1 in the Murderbot series. My friend Abby, Books and Three Cats. Gosh, Abby, you're getting so many mentions. Has recommended this to me. She's been listening to them on audio and suggested giving them a go. And I know that recently the Apple series has been released of the Murderbot, which I do want to watch at some point, but I'd like to listen to them first if possible. So I listened to book 1. It's so quick. It's so short. I listened to it in a couple of hours. So I actually ended up going back and re-listening because I felt that I'd missed a few points. This was really good. I was expecting something completely different from Murderbot, the actual character. I did not expect their persona to be what it was. So Murderbot is kind of semi-human, semi-droid. They have been programmed a certain way. They actually remove that part of their programming so that they don't have that bit. They are incredibly relatable because Murderbot doesn't want to do Murderbot things. Murderbot just wants to sit and watch their favourite TV show all day. Relatable, right? And then Murderbot starts making some choices. People around Murderbot that work with them are questioning some of their choices and start to get a bit freaked out as to why they're not doing what they are programmed to be doing. And then these people discover that Murderbot has actually removed that part of themselves, so they're unable to do those things, or they can make those choices. And again, you've got an interesting look at a droid, essentially, who is making very conscious choices and has their own motive and their own wills and wants and desires. And that was really interesting. So I really enjoyed this. And as I say, I can't believe that a Murderbot was so relatable. But goodness me, the things that that Murderbot was saying, I just thought, yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that one. I was totally with Murderbot. So that was really interesting. I think this was really well written and I'm so intrigued to carry on with the series. Another book that I read in April was actually another buddy read, and this was So Thrilled for You by Holly Bourne, and I buddy read this with Abby, Books and Three Cats. I'm going to preface this and say that if you are somebody that checks trigger warnings in books, I would for this book. This is a new release. It came out in January and it deeply explores the concept of parenthood, particularly motherhood. So it's from the perspective of 4 different women. Each are navigating their own journey with motherhood in different ways. It does discuss some quite deep topics and quite intense topics that are quite difficult normally to discuss, but I felt like it discussed them in a very open-minded and accessible way. I like that there was no taboo in this book. Holly wrote this very openly. There was a mixture of humour, but also great emotional depth. There are discussions on misogyny, how different gender roles are kind of assigned in parenthood, particularly in heterosexual relationships, and also adult female friendships and how the dynamic of this can change when topics of motherhood and things come into it. I really enjoyed this buddy read. I would have enjoyed this book anyway. I think I particularly enjoyed it because me and Abby were buddy reading it together. We set ourselves a goal of reading 3 chapters a day, and every day I was texting Abby saying, I want to carry on. I can't wait to pick it up. Or we'd be texting in the morning like, I've just finished my chapters. And it would be 6:30 in the morning and we'd already been up and finished them because we were so excited for them. So I really loved that. I really enjoyed this book. As I said, I would check trigger warnings as it does talk about some deeply emotional themes. However, I feel like Holly navigated these really well and I really enjoyed this book. It was a bit twee at the end. It was kind of wrapped up with a bow and the ending was very quick, which Abby and I both discussed that we struggled with a little bit. But similarly to what I was discussing with the Hunger Games, I feel like the overarching themes that were discussed were done so well that that bit kind of didn't really matter to me. So Thrilled for You is not a read that you're doing for the plot. You know, this was a character theme book, and I really enjoyed it. Finally, I read Before They Are Hanged and The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie, and I had the best time ever. And I am a happy little chicken. I honestly, guys, I'm not going to go into too much depth because I just posted my review of the First Law Trilogy by Joe Abercrombie last week. So if you want a more in-depth look at my thoughts, then please go and watch that video, or please don't. It's completely up to you. I won't judge. This has very quickly become one of my favourite series of all time. I was talking non-stop to Sean, Will, Luke and Leanne about this book, and Leanne and I were voice noting about this, just kicking our feet, reading out quotes to each other, or predominantly Leanne because she'd started it just as I'd finished it. And Leanne and I have already decided that we are going to do a buddy deep dive reread of this immediately. I think Leanne still is on the last book, but she's already going to reread it with me. So we are now about to reread these. I read book 1, Blade Itself, with my eyeballs. I listened to books 2 and 3 on Audible. Stephen Pacey is the narrator. Incredible narrator. Love him. He did an excellent job. Grimdark series. Characters that you will love. I loved them. I loved every single one. So distinct. It was funny. It was heartbreaking. It was witty. It was sarcastic. It was bloody. It was gory. It was gross. Oh, it was so clever. Joe's writing it's perfection. I can't. I have a video on it. Please go and watch that if you want some coherent thoughts. Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. One of my favourite series of all time. Can't wait to buddy reread. And so these will be coming up again on more wrap-ups in the future. Sorry. But soon Leanne and I are hoping to read through the entire First Law world together. So we're going to finish, reread the First Law Trilogy, and then we're going to move on to Best Set of Cold, which is the first standalone. I'm so excited. So those were all of the books that I read in the month of April. That was very chaotic. I'm very sorry. I had such a good month. I'm so lucky. I feel so blessed. It was a great month, guys. And I am really looking forward to my May read, so I will update you soon as to what my May TBR is looking like. But please let me know down in the comments what your favourite book of April was. And also, please let me know if you agree or disagree with me on any of the opinions that I have shared very incoherently and rambly. I'm sorry. If I upset anybody, I'm really sorry. Yeah, please let me know what your thoughts are down below. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. If you like this video and you want to become a firm member of the Library of a Silver Saint, please come join us. Then please give this video a like and a subscribe if you would like to. I would be... Oh, I've lost my voice. I would so greatly appreciate it. I'd love to have you here with me. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And I hope you have a lovely weekend. And I will see you soon. Bye.